marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me.
Hello, everybody. This is Mandy Hobgood. I am the Family Resource Coordinator at Wilmore Elementary School, and this is your Budgeting 101 session for Parent University. Today, we'll talk about just some simple ways to begin budgeting your finances at home, and then also several different ways that could look depending on how your family likes to do that. So, we're going to jump right in. Unfortunately, today's probably going to be a lot of me reading to you off slides and such, but hopefully we can get some handouts to everyone and you can really put it to real life use as well. So budgeting is the process of creating a plan to spend your money. You examine your income and allocate money to your outgoings. So first you have to decide what your financial goals are. Are your goals to pay off debt, to save more, to start investing, or is it simply just to stop living paycheck to paycheck? You can start budgeting even if you have a low income. In fact, you should start budgeting with a low income so you can improve your finances over time. Benefits of creating and living on a budget. One, you'll know exactly where your money is going. And I know whenever I first started doing a family budget, we were shocked at how much money was spent at restaurants. That is where we really decided we needed to cut back. So when you write it down and you see where every penny is going, I do think that most people are a little bit shocked to see how much money they're spent on certain categories. Two, you'll also know exactly how much you have to spend on certain expenses, and so this helps overdrafting your bank account and getting into more debt. Three, you can set realistic money goals and see progress much sooner. Budgeting is one of the best ways for someone to start improving their finances from the ground up. Budgeting is when you have a low income is definitely more difficult, but it's not impossible. Key tips to get you started. First, you have to stop overthinking it. It's a simple process with lots of different options. A budget's just basically a spending plan for your money. And there are no strict rules. There's no minimum income requirements to start. And then two, you have to start trimming. I like to call it trimming the fat. So you have to get down to what you actually need. After you know what you're spending, you have to be honest and start cutting out things that are not necessary. If you think you've already minimized everything, check it again and be critical of yourself. And then finally, you have to find more affordable ways to do things. My favorite example that I like to give of this is, say you're just really feeling a steak and baked potato dinner tonight. So you have the choice where you can go to Malone's to get a steak and a baked potato for probably $40. You can go to Applebee's and get a steak and potato for, say, $20. Or you can go to Walmart and you can get a steak potato for probably $10. So sometimes you think that you have to do without when you're budgeting, but really maybe just choosing more affordable ways to do things can be super helpful. Some key tips to get you started. Write out your budget with goals in mind. You have to make it official, you have to write it out. We all know that the best thought plans in our head oftentimes don't ever come to reality unless we write it down. List all your necessary expenses, then the other expenses that stay within your goal. And if you have money left, then you can add once to your budget. And then you have to make adjustments as needed. Your budget can change as you figure it out, and you need to adjust it until you find what works for you. For example, we would try to, say you're going to start on October 1st with your family budget, and you think you're going to spend $600 on groceries for the week. For the month. You may get to the end of the third week and you realize you've already spent $600. Well, that's okay because it's the first month. So maybe next month you need to put $800 in your budget for groceries. So step one, we're going to track our expenses. So every family member has to be on board for this to work. Of course, if you have one spouse that is really on board, is writing everything down, only spending money on the necessary things, and then the other spouse is just frivolously spending money on extra trips to the gas station for drinks and chips and all sorts of other things, then it's not going to work unless everybody's on board. Everyone will be more likely to stick to it if they have a say in it. I think that's just human nature. If you ask for our opinion, we're more likely to go with the plan. And this gives us a clear picture of how and where you spend your money, and be honest with your needs and how much they are. So after we've tracked our expenses, we know how much money is going out every month. We also have to, step 2 is calculate your income. So add all of your sources of income to your written budget. So this could be your paycheck, your Social Security, your child support, anything, any kind of money that you have in. So your main job, your extra jobs, anything. Add all those sources on your written budget. And then if you already know you're going to have more income, then maybe look for a couple small jobs to add to that. Step 3 is budget time. So fill out your budget worksheet of choice, and I'll show you several examples in just a moment. And then decide how you're going to track your budget. So envelopes, I'm just going to say that quickly, and we'll come back to that in a second. There's an app that's called Good Budget, and if you download that on your phone, you enter in every time you spend money, where you spend it, and how much. And it can even go into different categories like food, entertainment, gas, insurance, things like that. And then if you have a significant other, they can download on their phone, and it actually will work together. So if you spend $20 on groceries, it's going to show up on theirs that you also spent $20 on groceries. Paper and pencil is another option. Like I said, I have several here that we'll look over, and you can just write it out each month. And then, of course, there's the Excel spreadsheets. If you are fluent in Excel, you can use those, and you'll just have to enter in those in manually each time that you spend money and get paid. So we're going to go back to the envelopes, and this is one of my favorite ways to budget because you really see your money leaving because you're using all cash. So this is a Dave Ramsey system. I'm not sure, most people have heard of Dave Ramsey, but he now just owns a multi-million-dollar business that helps people with their budget. But he actually has filed bankruptcy twice in his life from failed business attempts. So I really like that he has some real-world experience on how he didn't just come into money, and it's always been easy for him to budget. So the envelope system is a way to force yourself to accurately budget discretionary expenses every month. It demands honesty, discipline, and commitment, but the reward that you gain is control of your finances. So we're going to start with salary and assume you get paid twice a month with a total take-home income of $3,000 during that period. So you get paid on the 15th, and you get $1,500, and you get paid on the 30th, and then that is $1,500. So the end of the month, you have $3,000. You budget $500 a month for groceries, or $250 per paycheck. When the first month's paycheck's deposited, you go to the bank and you withdraw $250. You put that cash in an envelope and you write groceries on the outside. Every time you purchase groceries, it must be with that money from that envelope. If you go to the grocery store and you don't have your envelope, you don't wipe your credit card, you don't get your debit card out, you go home, you get the groceries envelope. It's really that simple, but it does require a lot of discipline. Remember, you can only buy groceries with the cash in that envelope. So if your bill is $251, you need to put something back. There's no wiggle room in this budget at all, but it definitely is one of the best ways for you to accurately spend your money and make sure that you stay on track financially. Once the money is gone in your groceries envelope, you're done until the next paycheck arrives. This system is how you find out how accurately you budget and how much money you're really going to spend on groceries or whichever your envelope says. When you get your second paycheck of the month, you take out another $250 and refill the groceries envelope at that time. So the next step is for you just to identify all your monthly expenses for each, so you can write on each envelope. Some suggestions that I've used for this system would be an envelope for groceries, an envelope for gas, an envelope for eating out, envelope for beauty or grooming, So anytime you get a haircut, that would come out of that. And then we have a miscellaneous or entertainment envelope. So notice that your monthly bills are not included in this. This is only used for your discretionary expenses. So the ones that change each month are the ones that you actually have a lot of control over. All right, some tricks and tips to make your budget work. One is you have to make every penny have a job. So you have to know exactly where your money's going and be very intentional about how you spend it. 2, review your budget before the first of every month. And like I said earlier, that may change whenever you figure out how much you really need to spend on each category. 3, never charge too much on credit cards. 4, prepare for the unexpected. And 5, work on your budget together as a family. All right, we're going to start looking into some of the different budgets that I've gotten. And I just found these after Googling some online. All right. Okay, so this first one is a 4-step spending plan. The directions just say to complete this activity in pencil and update it each month to make multiple copies so that you can fill it out a new activity each month. Use your best estimates of the highest possible cost for expenses you can each month. This will help create a realistic picture of your financial situation and help you see where you may be able to make changes. So step 1 here, we're going to identify our total income. So you can see here, this would be your pay, your wages that you work, that you earn from your job. And this is your spouse or significant other, or really any other adult in the household that contributes to your finances. After that, it would be tips or bonuses. And then if you get any child support coming in, unemployment payment, if you receive any government funding, and then there's some other things for, other, if you happen to have any other different kinds of incomes coming in each month. Then down here, this is where you're going to add those all up. And then this is going to be your total income for your entire month. Step 2, list your expenses and their amounts. Some of the expenses listed here may not apply to you, and also some expenses may occur only once per quarter or twice a year. In that case, divide the amount of expense by the number of months between payments. So, for example, insurance is not listed on here, but that's the first one that comes to my mind. Say your car insurance is $500 every 6 months. So you know that you're paying $1,000 a year if it's $500 every 6 months. So if you take that $1,000 divided by 12 for 12 months out of the year, that's about $83 a month. So you would put 83 as your per month payment. Also in here would be your rent or mortgage, your gas, heating, electricity, any kind of bills you have like that, water, telephone. If you have a home phone, then you're also going to want to list your cell phone. You can combine those there, or other house expenses could be cell phone. Groceries, prescription medicine, any other things you can think of there. And it says, if you do not know how much you spend on these items, begin tracking how you spend your money. Enter every item purchased into a small notebook, computer program, or a smartphone for a month or 2. After that, you're going to have a better idea of where your money goes and how much you spend. So you'll have a little more accurate numbers for this kind of budget. Here's where our insurance and things come in. So eating out, gasoline, all the life insurance, health insurance, car insurance. If you have monthly doctor's visits, child care, pet care, all of these things are expenses that most of us incur at least most months. Step 3, we're going to compare our income and expenses. So from all the way, you're going to go back up here to step 1, and where you had your total income right here, you'll enter that down here. And then your total monthly expenses will be in this line. And then so you're going to take, say you had $1,000 from your income and you spend $500 a month, your amount saved, or your net income down here is going to be $500. Now, most of it's not going to look like that. And hopefully we all come out ahead on the third one, but it's not abnormal if your expenses are more than your income. So if they are, that's when we have to go back and start cutting expenses that are not necessary. So step 4 says set priorities and make changes. Was there money left over at the end of the month? If not, consider increasing your savings to build an emergency fund for unexpected expenses or to save for one of your financial goals. If you do not have money left over, look carefully at your expenses, especially the miscellaneous or non-essential ones. Identify areas you can cut back on. Identify ways you can increase your income. And then don't be discouraged if you can only make small changes in your income or expenses. Small changes do add up over time. Okay, most of these written budgets are pretty much the same. They're just laid out a little bit different. And I like that because everyone just has a preference of their own. So this one here, you can just make a lot of copies and just change the month here. And you're going to go down here, and this is your budget. This first column is your budgeted amount. So what you think your income is going to be, and then what you think all of these expenses are going to be for the month. This column here is for what you actually do. So let's say you think your income is $1,000 for the month, but you got a Christmas bonus, so you actually brought in $1,500 for the month. You'd put that there. So you're plus $500 over here. The opposite side of that is if you think you're going to make $1,000 this month, the business is slow and you only make $500, then your difference over here is going to be minus $500. So the same for your expenses. A lot of these are pretty set over each month. Like your mortgage and your rent is usually the same every month no matter what. Insurance is usually the same. You know, your phone bill, well, I guess that could change. But others are going to be different. Electricity is going to be different every month. Water will be different every month. Gas will be different every month. So what you think it's going to be over here in your budgeted column, what it actually is once you get your bill here in the actual amount, and then what the difference is over here. If you are one of the lucky ones that gets to save some money at the end of the month, right here is where your retirement savings, your college savings, or any other kind of savings that you have will go here. Of course, with any budget, it's always going to be your total income minus your expenses. That's what you're going to have left over at the end of the month. All right, so unfortunately for a lot, the income that's brought in from our main jobs is sometimes just not enough for the lives that we live or we want to live or for what we need for ourselves and our family. So some extra income ideas it typically help. And this is where I'm sad that we're not together in person because it's really helpful to hear other people's ideas. They may say something that you've never thought about that you could do to earn some money. So really think about it. It says review the following ideas for earning extra income. If you come up with ideas that are not on the list, add them. Then decide which ideas work for your life. Be sure to check local job listings for part-time and seasonal work. Also consider getting together with family members, friends, and neighbors to sell items at a garage sale. Remember, sometimes a little extra income can go a long way towards improving your financial well-being. That brings an example to my brain that we talked about a couple sessions ago whenever we got to meet in person. But sometimes, let's say that you can't pay your rent this month. You don't have enough money, but you have a yard sale and you make just enough to cover your rent. Well, that's great for that month. But if you think about if you wouldn't have been able to pay it that month, it just kind of starts stacking up. A lot of times it's not just a 1 month ordeal. If you can't pay that month, then the next month it's double. So the chance of you being able to pay double is not great. And then the next month after that, you still have some left over from that month that you couldn't pay it at all. So never getting behind is always the way to go. It just makes things so much easier down the road. So little things like garage sales, selling things that you don't use anymore, that could add up to actually being able to pay one of your bills for the month. So some ideas here would be getting part-time work, working extra hours or overtime if possible, doing seasonal work, starting a small business, turning a hobby into an income, selling items, or pooling income with your family. Some seasonal work is always available, not always, but a lot of times available around Christmas time or during the summer, yard work. In the winter, there's snow removal. In the fall, you could look into leaf removal. So lots of different options out there. All right, those are some of our written budgets that I've just found to be helpful. And then finally, there's just a handout here that I will try to get to you, but it's 9 ways to start getting out of debt. Sometimes debt can make you feel as if you're living at the bottom of a deep well. And the good news is there are many different ways to pull yourself up and out of the well into the daylight of financial well-being. And the following steps can help you get started. 1, because interest on debt adds up over time. There's no time like the present to begin reducing debt. So stop taking on new debt in all forms, whether that be paycheck advances, credit card use, or pawn shop loans. 2, cut your everyday expenses so you can use more of your money to help pay off debts. Work with a nonprofit credit counseling organization to set up a debt reduction plan. Consolidate your loans by shifting higher interest loans to a single lower rate loan and make sure you're not running up new charges. Limit yourself to 1 or 2 credit cards. Pay off any other cards that you have and call those creditors to cancel your accounts with them, and then cut them up. Earn the most money you can. Getting a second job or working overtime can increase your monthly income. If you have a family, however, it is best to decide whether your time is most valuable at home or at work. Sell or trade items you own but never use. Sell the items yourself, like at a garage sale, and use that money to help pay down debt. When you pay off debt, direct the same amount of money you were using for it to pay off other debts. So, for example, say you have a car loan and you're paying $500 a month for that car, and then you just paid it off in January. Well, in February, use that $500 that you would have been spending on your car loan to help pay off another debt, and that way it gets paid off faster. And lastly, sometimes you have to be honest with yourself in order to make the best financial decisions. If you purchased a car but are having trouble making the monthly payments, you may be better off selling the car and paying off your loan rather than letting a creditor repossess the car. Having a record of repossession will definitely hurt your credit rating. Okay, that ends this for us. Again, I'm sorry that we have to do it online. I hope you got a little bit out of it. And then that's it. Have a good day.